hope you have a great week ahead of you. Some people had yesterday off. I didn't know that until I got to work, but that was good. We got a long weekend coming up here, 4th of July, and I hope we have a great week this week. We are coming to the conclusion of Hebrews chapter 13. The writer is giving some words of encouragement to the church on ways that churches can really function well and be great churches. The first thing that he concluded with was this understanding of hospitality, being caring for one another, loving each other, and caring for strangers, people you don't know, making sure that you have a good word and a word of hope for one another. He talked to us about the importance of getting outside of ourselves so that we're not enclosed within our own group. And he used the example of people who are in prison. Well, a lot of these New Testament writers were in prison. And so they have a real love for that ministry. That's one of the ministries that churches should be involved in, is prison ministry and hospitality ministry and taking care of people who are wounded and broken and homeless. And those are all very important ministries. And now he's going to encourage us in another way. So this is verses 4 through 6. And I really like the way this ends, so this is pretty cool. Marriage should be honored by all, and the marriage bed kept pure. For God will judge the adulterer and the sexually immoral. Keep your lives free from the love of money and be content with what you have, because God has said, "Never will I leave you, never will I forsake you." So we say with confidence, "The Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid. What can mortals do to me?" And I just love that he takes these words of encouragement and says, the most encouraging thing that he could tell us is to fix our eyes in a different direction, get a different perspective on our lives, and understand that this is a mortal life here, and we are to see ourselves as immortal creatures. And what's more important to us is our spiritual journey into eternity. And so that gives us perspective in all mortal circumstances. The two that he talks about are really the two that cause some of the greatest stress in people's lives. Two of the big three, I would say, and that is marriage, which is glorious or can be strifeful, and then money, and he says perspective is really important in those two things. The third would be suffering and trials, physical health, suffering and trials like that. And again, perspective is really what is most important. And so the last words are really good for us to hear. I say with confidence, "The Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid. What can mortals do to me?" And that's because we understand that there's a part of us that is sacred and holy, and if we have the right perspective, untouchable. And so if you're in strife of any kind, this is a good way to begin your week. Say with confidence, "The Lord is my helper." You might want to say that out loud this morning. I know I did, and I am right now, because I need it. I need to remember that God is my helper. I don't have to fix everything. I can't fix everything. And God is going to help me. He may not change the things I can't fix. He may not fix them the way that I think they need to be fixed, but he will give me confidence to trust in him. And so I trust in him. No matter what we experience in life, no matter what I experience in life, we have to trust that God has my immortality in his hands. And so I'm working my best to become what I need to become. And two of the things that he talks about here are probably things that last in our lives a long time. The first is marriage. Those of us who are godly, we intend to be married for our entire mortal lives to the person that we're married to. And sometimes that's, and most of the time, honestly, that's really glorious. It is a really, really good thing. But sometimes our selfishness gets in the way and we want what we want. And so it jeopardizes the truth that's being shared here that marriage should be honored by Christians, and we hold it high as an example of what it means to be a Christian in a relationship, and so an example of Christ's love for us. And then he says, and the other one is money, which, if you don't win the lottery, I mean, even then I've heard if you do win the lottery, it's a constant issue that doesn't seem to go away. And it's very often, for very few people, it's a matter of how much. There are some, and that number is increasing in our society, and we're not prepared for that. But there are some, and more every day, where they don't have enough, not even to survive. But for most people that I know, most of us who are kind of middle class Americans, it's not the amount, it's the perception, and it's the application of biblical principles concerning money. But this writer says, most of all, it's about trusting in God. And we have a tendency to trust the numbers and trust in ourselves, especially about this particular thing. And he says, listen, say with confidence, the Lord is my helper. And so if you're struggling today, you might want to say that out loud. The Lord is my helper. What can mortals do to me? And so I want to encourage you in your journey. And that's a great way to start the week, as you're driving along with all the craziness that's going on around you, and you're reading the paper and seeing the news headlines, and so then you just go like this and you say with confidence, okay, the Lord is my helper. What can mortals do to me? Amen. You all have a great, great week, okay?